Now, I'm going to explain what's happening with GameStop really quick, and then we'll get into it. And just to bring everyone here, which I like to do with this podcast, right? Because a lot of people do not know what a short squeeze is. So a short squeeze is when someone's short. It's just, so if you buy a stock, at 10 and you sell it at 20, right? You have to sell it at 20 or 30, 40. You have to sell it eventually, and that's how you book your profit or loss. If you put $10,000 into the stock and you buy it at 10, your risk is $10,000. If it goes to zero, that's how much you lose. When you go short, and I'm talking about if you go short a stock, your losses are infinite because you're shorting the stock at 10 and then go to 20, 50, 100, or 300. What'd you say it was, Daniel? 300 what?
It was 355.
355. That's amazing. It was 240 this morning, I think, when we walked in. So, so in the short sells, what happens is just like when you buy it, in order to lock in the gain, you have to sell it or loss. You have to sell it. With short sellers, they just take that step first. They sell it first and they need to buy it back. Now, when this stock gets out of control and goes higher and higher and higher and higher, it forces the short sellers to immediately buy the stock at whatever price. So it'll go to 20, 30, 40, 50, and they keep buying it because they need to get out of their position, because if it goes to 200, 300, 400, they're wrecked, which is what happened with GameStop. We see short squeezes all the time. However, we've never seen anything like this coordinated. And Daniel, I guess we'll start with you, and hopefully I explain that well, because a lot of people, again, I'm getting questions. The short squeeze, just to bring everyone on the same page of what's going on. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's beyond crazy. And it's morphed into basically the mindset of divisiveness. So it's the little guy versus big, greedy hedge funds. Do you want to talk about Wall Street Bets? Because it's all over CNBC and everything. Reuters.
Go ahead, go right. That's the Reddit crowd that started this blog, I think, a couple months ago, I think in April, and really started attacking specifically this company and Melvin Capital, right?
And so, I honestly don't know what started all this off, on the sense of, because Wall Street Bets has been around since I don't know when. I've heard about them several times, and I've checked their message board a few times here and there, but nothing regularly. So I'm not exactly sure what got them so upset or targeted. And if that's the case, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know all the details here. I don't know. There was 2 million users on the Wall Street Bets Reddit feed. I'm sure that's grown, to a silly number in just the last few months. But yeah, you have, it's kind of a neat thing, because you have high frequency traders and hedge funds that are blamed for a lot of market manipulation by the little guy and in general. And then you have things like Robinhood come along that disrupt markets, basically get everybody down to free trading, easy access to it. And then when that kind of turns on you and people get the idea of trying to squeeze you out of a position, you can push stocks high enough. And hey, this goes well, though, because fundamentals don't matter. And this is the perfect example. The funny thing is, there's so many different angles we can talk about this that I'm interested by. And one of them is the fact that people are literally just pointing out the fact that they're trying to hurt somebody else to buy this. So, it's a free stock market. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to make sense, but that's an interesting thing going on right now.
We're going to go a lot of different places with this, because it's very important, because there's something much bigger taking place than just a simple short squeeze. But, let's, even when we get to the details. So Melvin Capital is a $12.5 billion firm. They were short GameStop for a while. Now, when you disclose, for funds who have over $100 million in assets, they need to disclose all their positions on the long side. So you don't have to disclose your shorts, right? And that's every quarter they do that. It's called 13F, right? It's filing with the SEC, and you get to see who Warren Buffett owns and what they bought, what they're selling out of, and all this stuff. It's pretty cool. I've covered that a lot in this podcast. But when it comes to options, especially put options, money manager with over 100 million capital, they must disclose that. So Melvin disclosed that it had 5.4 million puts on GameStop last quarter, right? And it was worth 55 million at the time. I'm sure it's worth zero now. Whatever it's forget it. But but it's a position they increased by nearly 60%. So now you're talking about, Dan, the Reddit crowd. It's they all got together, right? Wall Street Bets, it's called, and all of a sudden they have over 2 million subscribers, and it started with one group saying, "Hey, Melvin Capital is short this stock. Let's try to, get a short squeeze here." And I actually went on that account, and I'm going to read you some of these things because now it's probably has 3 million users, but I screenshot a couple of these things and just a couple of it's freaking on. So like I said, it took 9 years for for this blog to reach 2 million subscribers, there's 500,000 that joined the last 3 days. I did this yesterday. It's probably another million people I joined. You have GME ripping. I'm in tears already. Life-changing money is turning into destiny. Just life-changing money. 10,000 into 750,000. And this person says he's still holding. When I did this, the stock closed yesterday. Where did it close yesterday?
Well, it's up $286.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's at 363.
So I think it closed, wherever it closed yesterday, 140 something. And he's still holding today. He's probably a happy guy.
Yeah.
A little bit, right? So you got to think that 750 is now a few $1 million. Melvin is down another 25% on G. So they're targeting, right, Melvin Capital. And again, it's a $12.5 billion firm. Best hold I've ever effing seen. FLMAO. For those of you older, laughing my ass off. Someone is actively driving attention to non-GME posts on Reddit. Don't be fooled. Like, all these guys are really together, though. But it's yesterday I posted a $2.5 million loss on GameStop, but today I'm posting a $7.8 million gain.
Jeez.
These guys that posted on Reddit. Just some of these things are just absolutely amazing. I mean, the hedge funds are mad, and they're going to be fighting dirty. Ladies and gentlemen, the man behind MarketWatch is calling you conspirators of crime. Someone call Papa Elon. We got to take a rocket to the moon before the SEC comes knocking. I mean, it is really entertaining. We did it. Buy the rip. Continue to buy the rip. We made it, boys. Keep going. It's incredible. I mean, if you really read the blog, it's incredible. So they're all together, and now, so Melvin Capital lost 30% of its value, got crushed, and they required a bailout to stay afloat. And you had two major guys who have ties to Melvin, Steve Cohen of Citadel, and then Point72 Asset Management. They injected $2.7 billion into the fund. That was yesterday morning. And now, what's the percentage again? How much is it high, Daniel?
It's actually 373 now, so it's almost 296. It's up 385% today.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that I'm going to try to, because if you watch CNBC, you guys know the story. I'm going to dig in really deep a couple topics with Daniel here, but Melvin Capital, it was like a coordinated effort to really, and this is a large Wall Street firm, $12.5 billion that these, I would say, I wouldn't even call them kids. They're all professional traders on there, but most of these kids are young who are able to leverage the hell out of everything. We're seeing outages at Ameritrade, E-Trade today, across like Robinhood, 5 or 6 platforms because the volume is insane. I'm not just talking games, just across the platforms. A lot of them aren't working right now as I speak. But Melvin was also short other names at National Beverage, iRobot, and Bed Bath & Beyond, which are all up tremendously. And again, Melvin has to cover their losses, right? Or they lose everything in the fund. So when they're covering, they need to buy back all these positions, and they're buying them back. And when you're buying them, they're buying them high, and the stock's going higher, because it's, because they have to continue to buy to cover their shorts. So, probably one of the biggest short squeezes ever. But, what Melvin Capital here, it's interesting, Daniel, because you're seeing how Wall Street is pissed off at this and calling out for the SEC to investigate Reddit and go after these people. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. The idea that you would regulate a blog like that, I mean, you're just going to have to take away opinions, period, if you do that. So if you're of the camp and you're a negative mindset in the stock market in general, and everybody knows people like that, they think it's rigged, or they think it's rigged against the little guy. In a lot of ways, you could point to certain things and make that argument, or some people just think it's total gambling. It's like Las Vegas. This is something you can point to and say is silly. It's not based on fundamentals. Nobody cares about what the company does for a business, whether the business is growing or dying, and that's irrelevant. The thing for me about regulation is no, because I checked it a few days ago on the Wall Street Bets blog, and it was really cool because a couple of people were showing they were taking screenshots, and of course take everything with a grain of salt. I don't know if all this is 100% true, but some of the people were putting screenshots of them paying off student loans or other types of debt. So now they're kicking themselves because emotionally in investing, you think, man, if I would have held, I could have had a lot more, but you can always do that. But to take some off the table and to get out of debt and actually put that to use is awesome. Sure, people are going to get hurt, but it's not illegal to gamble. And who cares if you're gambling here? So the idea of regulation and bailing out the hedge funds, or protecting them or whatever is beyond silly, because they do the same things. And it's just, it's turned against them right now, and a lot of people are going to get hurt. On the bailout, real quick, Citadel is supposedly the biggest purchaser of Robinhood trades to execute. Is that right, Frank? Have you seen that too?
Well, basically, they're the high frequency firm that's behind Robinhood. So remember, Robinhood came out and said that, hey, we started a free trading platform, and that changed the landscape of the entire industry. Everybody had to go free. Obviously, Robinhood has to make money some way, and through Citadel is basically
right. They're one of the companies that purchased to execute those orders. What's interesting is that they get most of the Robinhood volume. It was my understanding on reading through Zero Hedge and a couple different sites. But that's funny because you see a lot of the back end stuff, and then you turn around and you put more capital into somebody that is suffering from that. So if you want to talk about regulation, as the article pointed out, is that legal, or should that be looked at? Are you allowed to buy the orders on Robinhood and then turn around and bail out the guy? We'll see.
Well, I mean, it hasn't really worked for them, right? I mean, the bailout, because I think they tried to short again. And yeah, there's a couple of things here, right? One of the things is that it's ironic that these Wall Street guys and Citron, Andrew Left, has posted on his Twitter account, and this was just a few days ago, the 19th. And he's like, I'm doing a whole presentation on GameStop, and I think GameStop was at 40, maybe 45 or something around there. He's like, why the stock is going back to 20. I have a live presentation I'm going to do. Make sure you watch it. This is on the 19th, right? So what happened is, this Reddit blog and everything, they were like, all right, let's just blow them out of the water. And, this is when it was at 40. It's over 300 now. I have a lot of respect for Andrew Left. He's been right when he shorts a lot of stocks. And I've spoken to him personally and met him personally. He's, he knows his stuff. But there's other short sellers out there that are complete garbage. And I've covered this before too, where they'll come out with a short report, and of course they load up ahead of time, right? So they load up on the short ahead of time, and like Citron did, and then they'll post something and say, hey, we're going to come out and tell you why GameStop's a short. So right away you're going to see GameStop start coming down, and they do the presentation, it comes out even more. But when you read the disclaimer, these guys are allowed to get out of that position whenever they want, right? They could be out of it before you even watch the presentation. Right. So they're going to make money. Right. So they're loading up on it, and then they let everyone else know. It's almost like, front running. That's what they're doing. Front running, which is perfectly fine. Right. You could do that all day, and it's legal. I don't know why it's legal, but you could do that. And then what these short sellers do is, in the disclaimer, it says, all this information we provided, we believe to be as reliable, but may not be. Meaning that it could be complete horseshit. Everything that they said, it could be complete lies. And because they put it in the disclaimer, it doesn't matter. Now, after they launch these massive short campaigns, now they have these ambulance-chasing lawyers that will launch investigations, and it goes right up on the Yahoo blog. This company's being investigated. Again, this is all common. They're all together. They'll also launch this on numerous platforms. Seek and Alpha is one. You'll see it at Market Watch. You'll see all this, the short selling. That, again, everyone gets a piece of this. And they have this massive campaign that they launch, and they all make a fortune. And usually a lot of these stocks don't deserve to go down. A lot of bullshit's being said about them. And then, they'll get crushed 60, 70% and eventually go back to back higher as all these guys, are out of their position. This is the system. This is how it is out there, right? And again, it's mostly Russell 2000 small cap stocks, an area that I've been covering 25 years. Now you have a coordinated effort, Daniel, where everyone on Reddit, there's no one that you'll find on Reddit that says GameStop is worth 100, 200, 300. They're not saying, they're going to open up stores and it's game changer. They specifically said, we know that a guy has major shorts here, and if we buy this stock, he's going to be forced to cover, and this thing is going to do the freaking roof. They didn't know it would be this big. They'd have 2 million people on their blog now, probably 3 million, like I said. But they're specifically say this is public information, and that you could start a short squeeze if you start buying these things. And you have enough money to put behind them. Usually you don't against $1 billion hedge fund. This time they do. That's pretty scary, but it's perfectly legal. I mean, I don't know how they can come after them, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, so what? They're putting their opinion out there, and some of them are making money. Some of them are going to lose money, but that's a market. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being silly. What's the difference of going to Vegas and putting your money on red or black on a roulette wheel? You're gambling at this point. So, yeah. I'm okay with it. I hope and Andrew Lefts for Citron, they put out a video today, and he said he covered the majority in the 90s.
He covered
big loss, he said, but he said he has a manageable position. He's not blown up or anything like that. Kudos to him. And he did offer some advice and said, hey, if you've taken profits, put some back for the IRS because, if you hit a losing streak or invest that money and then lose, you still owe. So interesting. Yeah, I don't, it's entertaining from a lot of perspectives to me because it does have that David and Goliath mindset. I think you can apply this kind of mindset and division across to basically anything. This is just the stock market's version. And, we'll see what happens. But the interesting thing is if you're up millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, at what point do you say, all right, I'll take a little off the table? And that'll be interesting from an emotional and psychological level from me. And we'll just watch it. But hey, I'm on the sidelines. I wish I bought it like everybody else, but it doesn't intrigue me enough to go fishing and try to throw this at.
And I know it is intriguing for you guys out there. If you want, put a couple $1,000s in that you could afford to lose. You could look at a lot of it. It's easy to find a list of companies that are being sold short, but you could easily attack these guys. I mean, you can see the percentage of float that's short. There's a lot of places you could look at that, tons of places, but not individually of who's shorting the stock, but a lot of these guys come out and say they're shorting the stock. So, right now you could target a lot of these companies and again, you're just telling everyone to buy something. It's resulting in more artificial buying, right? Because these guys have to cover their stock or cover their shorts. But more to the point here, and this I think is the biggest takeaway, which I think is being lost out there. This is a fundamental change in the stock market. I mean, this is something that's changing the landscape of the entire market. Where you had the old guard on Wall Street, $1 billion funds. They did what they want. They go where they want. Now, I mean, look at the big stories here. Bitcoin. Right? Younger generation. Then you have, look at the guys who are supporting. Look who's tweeting about this, about GameStop. You have Chamath, who's, a young guy, right? Billionaire, very, very successful. Winklevoss twins, which, again, Bitcoin guys and Elon Musk, where, Wall Street almost hates this guy, right? Just all the way up and the fundamentals are terrible. He's now the richest person in the world. But these guys are getting on board, and you see that old guard of the, multi-billion-dollar hedge funds and high-frequency firms, which I don't know if you saw their performance. The high-frequency firms, I mean, guys, they went I think Renaissance in something like 15 years had 3 losing quarters. They're down tremendously. They're down tremendously now over the past, it's pretty much since COVID and now. But what these guys are doing, this young guard, where you could never really challenge Wall Street, but when you all come together, and you see all of them come together and the power that they have, you can't ignore it. I mean, if you want to have fun with it, have fun with it. If you want to buy calls, you never know. Because if you hit, I mean, the risk reward is worth it. I mean, you buy calls, you put $1,000 in it. It could be worth $50,000, $1 million. I mean, if you bought them at 20, it's 300. So it's worth to gamble. But don't get stupid though, because you're going to get crushed eventually. It's just, everybody keeps saying that. I mean, GameStop can go to 700 and stay there for 3-4 months before that happens, but. For me, it's the changing of the guard. You're seeing the volume. You're seeing the contracts on the NASDAQ, record highs, for option contracts. But, old Wall Street used to run the show. And we're seeing that changing of the guard where, these, we say that they're kids or they're young and they're traders. They have incredible power, Daniel, incredible power. As you could see, putting this Melvin Capital, I mean, they were going out of business if they didn't get, $2.7 million in funding. I mean, this is a $12.5 billion fund. This isn't a guy who has $300 million and shouldn't know. These guys are highly leveraged, and he got caught out there. Everyone knew his position. To me, it's pretty amazing. I mean, there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think it's incredible what's going on, and you can claim victory for them because obviously the price of the stock is up tremendous. AMC, the other BlackBerry, although they're getting some tailwind, I think, from a settlement with Facebook or something in a lawsuit, but. The heavily shorted stocks, I think it's pretty neat in a lot of ways because it's showing people that, hey, the little guy can fight back essentially. And, it's a crazy tug of war. I wouldn't, just like you said, if you want to gamble and kind of use that mindset and have fun with it, great. But I wouldn't get in the habit of this tug of war on regular investments. But for speculations, it's a lot of fun.
Now, I want to tell you something. This just came up because we have a site that we use, briefing.com, really, really cool. I mean, a little bit expensive. It used to be a lot cheaper, but anyway, it gives you just headlines. I'll show it to you. The headline just came out because you'll see what time we're doing this. It's 11:56, but one of the latest headlines, 11:46 for AMC Entertainment, which is up $10 today. It's a $15 stock. It's up like 200%. TD Ameritrade just came out and said, in the interest of mitigating risk for our company and clients, we have put in place several restrictions on some transactions in GameStop and AMC and other securities. We made these decisions out of an abundance of caution and amid unprecedented market conditions and other factors. That's a freaking crazy statement. That just happened right now.
Yep. I saw that. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Stocks going higher and higher. Well, out of cautious for investors. You basically, it should be a free system. And this again, these things are going higher. But if you disagree with it and the short selling, you have to disagree with the hedge funds who throw these, they go on Twitter and say, we're going to short a stock, and they're already short this whole freaking game that they played, right? Now, these are the people that are bitching because they're getting wrecked because people found a way to wreck them.
Yep.
And, you're seeing companies being halted in I don't know. So it says that we made these decisions out of abundance of caution, unprecedented market volatility, but to mitigate risks for our company and clients. What does that mean? Who's at risk here? Because 95% of the people are long and they're buying calls. And if they lose money, it's money in the account. What TD Ameritrade is saying here, Daniel, is there's probably a massive amount of margin here, and they're worried they're going to get smoked somehow. Because why would you stop that? Because people are making money on this. And if they don't, they're going to lose the money that's in their account. But for them to come out like this, it's going to be interesting to see throughout this day. We're taping in the middle of the day, guys, Wednesday. How many more brokerages say the same thing? Robinhood's not going to come out with a statement like this. No way.
Yeah, you'd hope not.
I bet you Fidelity, I bet you, all these other platforms, if it's E-Trade or Ameritrade, whatever. Well, Ameritrade's here, but E-Trade. They're all going to be coming out with this. And yeah, I don't get it, though. I don't understand what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, my gut reaction is it's scary because I read that as saying, hey, you're too stupid and you don't know how to make good decisions, so we're going to limit the decisions you can make. Like I said, there's nothing illegal about being silly or gambling with your money. There's nothing, it might not be a good idea. It's not a good idea in a sense, but that's not for Big Brother, in my opinion, to say. The crazy thing here is, hedge funds are blowing up, but what if you're a trading desk and you're caught on the wrong side, or like you said, you're too wrapped up in margin, or something isn't square, and maybe you're worried about liability on that end. That's a big move. This is crazy. So we'll continue to watch with popcorn, I guess. But
and remember, guys,
that's impressive.
When you see the kids, I read some of them, but they're all basically saying, "Hey, this is why we're doing it. It's a short squeeze buy." They're not saying GameStop's going to come out with news that you don't know about yet. And they're not putting out false stuff out there. Some of them are, so you have a few. But basically, this is about, hey, we have information. It's public information. We know guys incredibly short, and they're probably leverage out the ass. So if we all buy, it's going to go higher, and it's going to trigger these guys, and we're going to, to buy their stock and create a short squeeze. We're all going to make money. They're saying that. They're saying that, right, on the blog. It's a lot different than, hey, making up a complete, fabricating a story that doesn't exist. And then you have Elon Musk tweeting about it. You have Chamath tweeting about it, who said he bought calls at 70 or 80 and showed everybody. And this is a couple of days ago against 300. It's just interesting to see what's going on here, Dale. It's going to continue. I wonder what the SEC could do. How could they bring charge? There's some people that are probably, making up stories and stuff, but the majority is, they're all on the same page and they all have the same thesis. So it's kind of hard to argue. And if the SEC does take action, they should be taking action at short sellers too, and do it both ways, right? It shouldn't be just one-sided. That may happen or may not happen. But again, it doesn't. If you guys get involved, just be careful. You're seeing a lot of TD Ameritrade. I'm sure it's not going to be limited to them to just limit, what you could buy and sell, and what's going on. But Dan, you said you looked at the calls yesterday. What were they?
I was trying to look at just some different GameStop calls and puts, and just see the bid and the ask. The difference between bid and ask and the price were just, it was just hilarious.
Yes. So the bid's buy, ask is sell. Yeah. So,
it's just why there were several dollars in between different strikes and all that. So
what was it? How much?
Oh, there were several. A couple of them, and there could have been a lag and some behind, because when things are going up and down hundreds of %, I can't imagine everything that goes into those. But there was calls and puts that had $5, $6, $8 spread differences. So that's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
be careful if you're going to wade into there and have fun.
Yeah, I know. It's just, expect to lose your money, but still, I don't know. It's just, it's crazy time.